If you're an oil painter out there, listen up because I'm gonna share with you 5 things I wish I knew when I first started painting. This is perfect for beginners, and we're starting off strong with number 1 on how to easily tell with any paint that you're about to use or buy is opaque, transparent, or anything in between. Now, this tip will actually work with both acrylic and oil paint, and it differs depending on manufacturers. Some manufacturers will actually print on the bottle or tube on the front or the back. It'll say below the description if it's opaque, transparent, or semi-transparent. Now, if you don't have any words on there that tell you what it is, you actually want to check near the back of the labeling of the paint or tube, and there's going to be a symbol there. If it's a square that's fully filled in, that means that paint is opaque. If it's an outline of a square, that means that paint is transparent. If it's a square that's half filled in, that means that paint is semi-transparent. I never knew this until somebody shared it with me, and it's extremely helpful because it's going to teach you when you're buying a paint how it's going to react on the canvas, but more importantly, how it's going to blend with other colors, or if it's even going to show up if you put it with darker colors. So make sure you look for the wordings or the symbols on the tubes. Number 2 is all about understanding how forgiving oil paint is compared to acrylic paint. With acrylic paint, generally it dries up really fast, so you may have to cover up your mistakes. When it comes to oil paint, I recommend just scrape it off with a palette knife or scraper, blend it into the background, and try again. No one will ever be able to tell that you made a mistake when it comes to oil paint, provided you did it the right way. Oil paint's really forgiving. You get multiple chances. So if you don't like something, try again by scraping it off and giving it a go. Number 3 is make sure you plan your final result when it comes to oil paint accordingly. I get asked all the time, how long will it take oil paint to dry? I don't know. Too many variables depending on your final result. What type of paint you used, how many layers you put on the canvas or your painting surface. Did you introduce any mediums, thinners, or texture into it? I don't know if it's warm in your location or cold. All these have variables. What you need to know is oil paint will take way longer than acrylic. Could take days, weeks, months, or a piece like this that had a lot of thick layers, 1 full year to fully cure and dry. So make sure you plan your piece accordingly, especially if you're painting a commission for someone out there. My hair got all messy. Hopefully it looks good for number 4. Number 4 actually applies to both acrylic paint and oil paint. When your paint mediums dry over time, they're actually gonna get more dull as they dry and cure. But when it comes to oil paint, you'll notice it more compared to acrylic paint, which may have additives into it to give it a semi-gloss or a gloss-like finish. It still will dry a little dull over time, but oil paint generally has none of those additives in it, which means when you finish your painting and it dries, it's gonna dry slightly duller. So you have to plan ahead. If you want it to be more vibrant, you actually have to introduce more vibrant pigment into it. Or an easy solution is actually, I recommend varnishing it when it's all dried and cured, because that'll increase the saturation, the vibrance, and brilliance, and that hard-worked artwork that you did. Number 5 is one of those tips that if you're a brand new painter, I know you've gone through this, but when it comes to the stronger oil colors, those stain, and that's okay. If you're a brand new painter, I know you've gone through this as a headache before, but some pigments out there are extremely strong. For example, this brand new paintbrush that's never been used looks beautiful. However, when you use it on stronger colors for the first time, I can guarantee you it's eventually gonna turn into something like this. And that's okay. The color stains the bristles over time. As long as you keep it clean and you use conditioners and preservers, it still will be perfectly fine to use. It just looks like it's gone through hell and back. But you need to understand, when you start using paintbrushes, they're gonna dye and transform over in color, and that's okay. Just make sure to keep them clean and they will treat you and your paintings nicely. Now that you have all this advanced knowledge when it comes to oil painting, you need to apply it to a fun and awesome tutorial, which I recommend you take a look over to my side. And hey, while you're over there, leave me a nice comment, smash that subscribe button, because I would love to see you in the next one. Wild wishing you the best of luck, and as always, take care, and of course, peace.